Hey there! Today we're going to break down something called EMDR therapy. This is a plain English guide, especially if you're in New York City and you're looking for some real practical ways to deal with trauma. All right, let's get into it.
So, does this question hit home? That feeling that certain memories are just stuck on a loop, like they have a life of their own and just won't fade? If that sounds familiar, you're definitely in the right place. We're about to talk about a therapy built for exactly that.
So, first things first, what even is EMDR? Let's get a super clear, no jargon explanation.
Okay, that name, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, is a total mouthful, I know, but the idea behind it is actually pretty straightforward. Think of it this way. Your brain is designed to process experiences, but sometimes a traumatic memory gets stuck. It doesn't get filed away properly. EMDR uses something called bilateral stimulation, which is just a fancy way of saying things like guided eye movements or alternating taps or tones to kind of nudge the brain and help that memory get unstuck so it can be stored in a way that doesn't feel so raw and overwhelming anymore.
And listen, this isn't some experimental fringe idea. When you see names like the American Psychological Association, the World Health Organization, and the VA recommending something, that's a huge deal. It means EMDR is a well-researched, evidence-based therapy that's considered a gold standard for trauma treatment.
All right, so we know what it is, and we know it's legit. But the million-dollar question is, could it actually help you? Let's run through a quick check to see who this therapy is often a good fit for.
Maybe for you, it's a single sharp memory. You know, a car accident, a scary medical situation, a sudden loss. Something happened, and now you're dealing with the aftershocks, the nightmares, the anxiety. EMDR is incredibly effective for this kind of one-time trauma.
But what if your trauma isn't just one event? What if it's more complex, something that happened over a longer period of time? Maybe it's left you with deep-seated triggers around relationships or your own self-worth. Well, EMDR can absolutely be adapted to work with these deeper, more long-standing issues too.
And here's one we don't talk about enough: medical trauma. A difficult childbirth, a frightening surgery, a long stay in the ICU. That stuff can stick with you and even make you avoid going to the doctor. EMDR is a powerful tool for targeting those specific, often overlooked medical memories.
So, if you're thinking this might be for you, what does it actually look like? What happens in the room? The good news is it's not a mystery. EMDR follows a really clear, structured 8-phase journey. It's a roadmap.
Now take a look at this roadmap. The most important thing to see here is that you don't just dive into the deep end. The first few phases are all about preparation. You're building a plan, learning grounding skills, and making sure you feel totally safe and prepared. Only then do you move into the actual reprocessing. And just as critical is phase 7, closure. Every single session ends with making sure you feel stable and grounded before you walk out the door. The whole process is designed to be very deliberate, safe, and contained.
Of course, EMDR isn't the only therapy out there for trauma, and to make the best choice, it really helps to know how it stacks up against the other major players.
This little chart breaks it down nicely. You can see other fantastic therapies like CPT and prolonged exposure. But a key difference you'll notice is that many of them involve a good amount of homework, worksheets, or practice exercises between sessions. One of the unique features of EMDR is that the bulk of the processing work happens in the therapy session itself. It's not about being better or worse. It's just a different approach that might be a better fit for how you work.
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. We're talking about therapy in New York City, so we absolutely have to talk about the real-world stuff. How much does it cost, and how do you even get access to it?
And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. In private practice in the city, you're typically looking at a range of $200 to over $350 for a single session. Seeing that number is important, because for almost everybody, cost is a very real piece of the puzzle.
But, and this is a really big but, that's not the only way. There are other pathways to care. You've got training institutes that offer low-fee options, you've got hospital programs, and if you have out-of-network insurance benefits, you might be able to get a chunk of that cost reimbursed. The main point here is you have options. It's worth exploring them.
And if you do decide to start, what's that beginning phase actually feel like? This timeline really helps take the fear of the unknown out of it. As you can see, those first weeks are all about setting a solid foundation, getting to know your therapist, learning skills. You'll start with a memory that feels manageable, and then you'll gradually expand from there, all while tracking real-world shifts, like how you're sleeping or how you're feeling day to day.
So let's end with this, because this is really what it all comes down to. This is the ultimate promise of good trauma therapy. It's not about erasing your past. It's about changing your relationship to it.
It's about the very real possibility that your memories don't have to control your life today.